prenup is really just for anyone who wants clarity, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And, fairness when it comes to financial relationships.
Yes.
And, the first part of that is,
being transparent.
Which you've just mentioned, and I agree. Like, you think that you'd almost be going into a marriage
ideally
trying to be transparent, talking about what assets you've got, what debts you've got there, what income, Obviously, that's not always the case with everyone, though.
It is not always the case, but it's an ideal thing that you're supposed to do in a healthy marriage is clear communication about your finances. And if you're going to go into a prenup, you have to.
Yeah.
So with that transparency comes protection. So let's assume that both of you come in with assets that are your own. So it's not just one over the other, not a rich person protecting themselves from a poor person. It could be both people bringing in assets that they already had. Protecting it by declaring that they're there.
Yeah.
So you brought in 15,000, I brought in 10,000. It's now written down so that in case, hopefully you don't, in case you get divorced in the future, it's already on this legal document that you two agreed to, and you're not digging around forever.
Or, arguing. It's like, no, that's part of mine as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So debt management is another, important part of it. So, similar to like protecting one's assets, you also don't want to be taking on maybe your soon to be or an ex-partner's debt, correct?
Right.
Now we've spoken about how student loan debt is always going to be counted as separate property there, but there could be
stays with the student.
Yeah. There could be credit card debt. There could be business, other sort of loans as well there.
Mortgage debt.
If you can kind of have that captured in that prenup, it protects yourself. Yeah.
Again, just mapped out on the prenup and saying that this is what you have, this is what I have.
Yeah.
And a prenup honestly just simplifies divorce. Okay. Again, we hope that, if you're going into another marriage, you're not going to get divorced, but the stats are there. So if you were to get divorced again, it really simplifies the process because it's all mapped out for you already, the finances, or at least what you started with.
Yeah. It really does help. One of the final ones is, supporting blended families. I think, if you asked a lot of people who, have kids who are divorced, it's probably, I like to actually see some of the numbers on that. Like, I'm sure there's a large percentage that would actually probably want to go into that next marriage with a prenup there, noting that they've got children from, separate marriages there.
Exactly.
That way you can really protect your children and your assets if you want to be giving it more to them, correct?
That's right. That's right. And it's not just planning. Prenups, I think, have this stigma that hopefully is fading. And for me, it had this stigma.
Yep. I always just thought of Hollywood with it. It's like, that's something from a movie.
Oh, yeah. And it's just planning for failure. This is, you're kind of, you're going into this marriage assuming it's going to fail. I don't think now looking back at our mistakes, respective mistakes, it's really just planning for certainty and fairness to the, if someday it doesn't work out. It's a just in case. Just in case. So provisions, what should be in a prenuptial agreement, a legal document?
And what should not be, or,
So, well, actually, you said what should not be. Custody arrangements aren't enforceable.
Correct. You can't say, hey, if we get divorced, I'm going to have sole custody of our kids.
Yeah, prenups are really for finances.
Yeah. So that's going to be sorted out on the back end based on what's right for the child or children.
So what should be in it? I feel like we always go into this subject or this topic in so many different ways, but you're going to identify what your separate property is, your respective separate property before marriage is, and you're also going to agree what's going to be marital property going forward.
Yeah. So we've always spoken about doing it at the tail end when you're going through the divorce. This is really just doing it at the start end before going into marriage, correct?
Yeah, before 26 years, pass, and then you can't remember it.
Trying to remember those statements or documents or assets.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is just documenting it ahead of time.
Yeah.